right, welcome to Under the Brim, where we talk about the mindset and motivation of the athlete under the brim. We want to know, how do rodeo athletes and traditional sports athletes compare in their preparation, training, competition, and performance in their sport? So let's find out today. I am Dr. Shanna Moody. I am a professor in the kinesiology department here at Sul Ross State University. I consider myself a wannabe athlete, and so I have coined the phrase fitleat because I am fit, but I am not very athletic. But I did grow up playing sports. You know, I did a little bit of basketball and cross country and running and some other things. Never competed in rodeo, and then by ironic turn of nature, I raised a kid who that's all he wanted to do was rodeo. I'd never owned a horse. I'd never pulled a horse trailer or anything like that, and I had to figure it out all really quickly. And so sitting down with some athletes here at Sul Ross State University to talk about what is going on under the brim of these athletes. And today I have with me two athletes. I have a basketball player and a member of our rodeo team. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So go ahead.
Well, I'm Caelyb Kerley. I'm a part of the Sul Ross men's basketball team. And this is going to be my third year here.
Okay.
I'm Colton, Valenta, part of the rodeo team here, and this is going to be my third year here as well, too. So.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your role on the basketball team, Caelyb. What position do you play, and then kind of what's your role being a third-year, person on the team, athlete on the team?
Well, I'm one of the guards.
Okay.
And so there's kind of like we're very guard-heavy. Mm-hmm. And so being one of the older guys, a lot of the guys look to me to be able to lead on and off the court by example, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy because I love, ever since I was a young kid, I love just helping people out and just showing how to do things. Not that I know how to do everything, but it just feels really good to have that respect, especially by people your own age.
Well, you said that y'all are guard heavy and that's your position, so is there competition for your spot this year?
Well, there definitely is, but I don't feel like anybody outworks me, so.
Oh, I like the confidence when you said that, right? Like, did you hear that too?
Oh, yes, ma'am. A little bass in the voice.
Again, that's how you have to do it.
All right, and then tell me about what event do you compete in rodeo?
So my main event, like if I had to be defined by one event, is the tie-down calf roping, but I also team rope too and head steers, and I do a little bit of heeling, but stick to the head.
Okay. So since we're a crossover podcast and maybe not everybody that's listening is as familiar with rodeo, can you tell us exactly what calf roping is?
Yes, ma'am. So the sport of calf roping, like every sport in rodeo, originated on the ranch. So calf roping individually, you rope a calf, get off your horse, run down the rope, flank it, tie a 3-bone cross. So it's either a front leg, 2 back legs, or 2 back legs and a front leg, and they got to stay down for 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. So that's the gist of calf roping.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a lot. Like I said, it originated on the ranch. And how it originated from the ranch is, spring and the fall when you have your spring calves and your fall calves, something gets sick and you're out there by yourself. Well, you got to tie it down and doctor it by yourself. So that's how it started. And then, 1800s, late 1800s, 1900s, ranchers got together and cowboys got hanging out, pretty sure a few beers were drank. They're like, I bet I could do it faster than you. And someone said, no, you can't. I can do it faster. And that's how the event of calf roping, the sport of calf roping got started.
Perfect.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you're listening, I wish you could have seen Caleb's face when you were explaining that.
It's a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that explanation.
Yes, ma'am.
I really love your accent. It just suits rodeo and cowboy so well. Can you say again what you said when we first sat down, when we were talking about the equipment in the room?
Oh, this is high-tech first class.
Just the way you said it when we sat down, I was like, oh my gosh, that is gold. That is such gold. Yeah, so we actually had your girlfriend on the podcast already, and so she was telling you a little bit about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that got you excited to come.
Oh, got me pumped up. I was looking forward to this. It's like a great way to start off. Our rodeo's this weekend, so it's like, man, we're gonna get up here, get some, feed out there. It's gonna be fun. Get pumped up, ready to go for the hometown rodeo.
There you go.
Well, the basketball team will be there to support. For
absolutely,
sure.
Yeah. That's one good thing. That's one cool thing. It's been happening for 3 or 4 or 5 years now. Rodeo team, basketball team, we'll come out to the basketball games, and we get rowdy. I forgot what game it was last year, but y'all playing, I think, number 17, and y'all were down in the fourth quarter and came a fourth quarter comeback, put it into overtime, and we were going, stereotypical, rush the court after the game. It was wild.
We love it. We definitely Definitely love it.
Yeah.
And then the basketball team is really unique at the rodeo. Something that I heard the announcer last year was like, I've never seen this at a college rodeo before, or any rodeo. So tell the audience what y'all do.
Well, we just do like these chants and everything.
Yeah.
It's like someone will say like SR, and then everyone will say SU, and it's like
it was wild. It was cool standing down there working I wasn't up in the perf last year, but I was helping. They're in the bull riding or bronc riding or something, and all you hear is SR, SU, and I mean the whole. It started off just like the student section, the basketball team. And next thing you know, we had grandmas, grandpas, and little toddlers chanting SRSU.
They were loving it.
It was wild. I mean, it pumped us up, and it was the real deal. It was fun.
Well, and we might need to clarify that y'all are saying SR as in Sul Ross,
yes,
and then the SU is State University.
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
no profanity going on. It doesn't have any kind of alternative meaning.
No, it's all school spirit, and it's 110 full max.
Some parents at the volleyball games think we're being disrespectful, but we're not. We're not.
We're supporting each other. You know, if one team that wins on campus, you know, the whole campus wins. So why not go out for your classmates and teammates?
Yeah, that's super cool for you to say. And I think sometimes that rodeo can be that disconnected sport. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting to hear a rodeo athlete, say that about the traditional sport athletes.
Ma'am.
And then again, it is very unique for the traditional sports to get so excited about rodeo. And you didn't really fully explain how all out y'all go.
Well, all right, so some guys, last year, I don't know if anybody will this year because we got a lot of new guys and they're kind of like scared. But we like go off with our shirts off, with our body painted, with SRSU, and then we're just out there. I'm going to class on Friday morning I can't even talk to my professor because my voice is gone.
Yeah, it was the most exciting thing. And, and I think that's the thing. Again, I didn't grow up in rodeo, but I've sat in the stands a lot as a mom, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and rodeo is so common, and there's so many places that you can enter, and there's no, like we were talking about earlier, there's no off season for rodeo because you can enter. It's not like basketball where you play at one level, right? You're always at that same level. With rodeo, you can go to different associations, and even at college, you can now be competing at a pro rodeo, an amateur rodeo, and a college rodeo in the same weekend, even.
For sure.
Right? So there's literally no downtime, and because there are so many opportunities to compete, and because you can have your armchair cowboys, right? Like, no offense, but like everybody can compete at any level, right?
For sure.
So there's not that many spectators because there's so many people doing it, as opposed to basketball where, there's more fans than there are players. Rodeo, pretty much anybody that's a fan is doing it also.
Yeah, if you can afford to buy a horse, truck, and trailer, you can throw your money up with the big dogs and you can run and enter up and go wherever you want, however long you want to go. And, there's no set I couldn't pick up a basketball and go shoot threes right now. I suck at I'm the world's worst basketball player. I can't even make a paper ball into a trash can. But like rodeo, that's what's so cool about rodeo is everybody can get involved. Like dads, grandpas, grandsons, sons can rope together. It's pretty cool. And then when you go watch like the traditional sports, it's just like another level of like respect. Like if you're playing college basketball, it doesn't matter if it's JUCO, D3, D1. You're playing a collegiate sport. You're pretty, handy with your sport, your event, whatever you're doing. So it's like, wow.
And you have to make the team, whereas in rodeo, it's a club. So essentially anyone can join the rodeo team. The coach gets to pick the starting lineup, right? Kind of like your coach would pick, but anybody can join the club. So you could go be a member of the rodeo club, and whether you compete or not.
Yeah, like we've got right now, I think there's 6 or 7 guys from the football team that are trying to learn to steer wrestle.
Okay, I heard a rumor about this. Tell me about this.
So I don't know all their names right now because they're a bunch of new guys, or I haven't seen them around before, but there's 7 of them. And they come out to practice. They come out to practice, every day just about. And
so they're really putting an effort in trying.
They're getting on they run the steer saver, so it's a mechanical bulldog and steer that you pull behind the Polaris Ranger. And you practice, catching the steer's head and sliding them, and you know what to do on the ground when you bulldog. And it's a workout. I bulldogged, junior high through high school, first 2 years of college, and I'm glad I hung it up because it's a full body workout every time you crack down on a bulldog and steer, and it gets pretty hairy sometimes.
So Caelyb, did you ever do any other sports besides basketball?
Well, I actually played baseball from like 3 to 16. I didn't start playing basketball until like 17.
Oh, wow.
Oh, whoa. You picked it up late.
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that. How'd that change happen?
Well, my grandma loved watching me play baseball. And then, so I had a longtime coach that I just loved, and then he retired coaching, and so then I went to a new team and all that, and he kind of when I was playing baseball, I liked to be a little flashy, but he didn't like all that stuff. So how he tried to like change my whole game, it kind of took the fun out of it for me, and so then I always like would play rec basketball and all that, and I just loved it. I could jump high, and I loved it. So when I decided I'm gonna give it a shot, and I got cut from high school. The high school didn't want me, but I wouldn't be who I am if that didn't happen.
There you go.
And then
You and Michael Jordan, right?
close. We're not on that level yet, but we'll get there hopefully.
Well, I just meant you both got cut and still went on to keep trying to play, right? Like that, you didn't let that deter you.
Yeah. We've had an interesting journey with all these colleges we've been to, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so how did y'all end up at Sul Ross?
Well, I got recruited from Coach Patrick Mound. He had to leave at the end of last year, but he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that attracted me about Sul Ross is the respect and like the love that he saw in me right off the rip, and how much he believed in me.
So where did he see you if you weren't playing for your high school?
Well, he saw one of my highlight tapes on Facebook, and someone shared it on something, and then he saw it, found my Twitter, reached out to me on Twitter, and
Okay, so you played at another college before here.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get into college ball if you didn't play high school ball? Or did you eventually make the high school team?
Oh, no, I didn't play high school at all.
Okay.
I was like, so I like kind of like walked on at I was going to play at this little JUCO, but stuff didn't work out. I didn't take care of my grades, and I wasn't able to play there that next year. So I had to do some academic catch up, I guess.
There you go.
And then I went to this, I got a kind of a little offer at this school in Arkansas that I went to just to get I just needed a platform. And then that didn't work out either because that was a crazy school, man. That was a crazy school. But then one of the games that we played at in Oklahoma, I walked in that gym and it just felt like I was supposed to be there. And so that next year I talked to the coach and I went to that school. I actually got a great opportunity to play for a full year, and then put my stuff on Facebook and everything, and next thing you know, I'm at Sul Ross.
Where are you originally from?
Like
where'd you grow up?
kind of in DFW.
Okay, so Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I was in like Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
I lived there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Big Sooner fan.
Oh,
Big Sooner fan.
Okay, there you go.
And so, yeah.
You follow any sports? Do you want to counter the Sooners?
I do. Yes, man. When I was in high school, I was, I guess, a bandwagon footballer. Like I was a Sooners fan for a while. I was a Pokes fan for a while.
Oh man, how'd you switch to that?
Well, Hunter Herron from Apache, Oklahoma, he's a calf roper.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge Pokes fan. So I liked his calf roping, so I liked his football. And I just bounced around. My mom, she graduated from A&M, so I liked A&M when Manziel was there. I don't know, just kind of bouncing around.
Who you like now?
I really haven't followed it lately, but if I had to pick one, I had a buddy. I worked for this ranch for a while, and a guy that worked there, he was dumber than box of rocks, but worked hard. He was like he couldn't drive a T-post in straight to save his life, but he was funny as all get out. Worked hard. He was the punter for Sam Houston, and he punted really well. So I'm partial to Sam. Sam's for this little school, the little guy.
Dumber than a box of rocks. Okay.
He was, but he was funny.
I'm gonna have to use that one sometime.
And it's a funny story. It's so weird. That ranch I worked for really wasn't a true ranch. It was just a tax write-off for the owners. Well, the ranch manager, his son played baseball for George Ranch, and one of the son's best friends is Joseph Menifee, and we called him Moo. Everybody called him Moo from he was little. Well, now he went on to play baseball at A&M. And now he just signed an MLB contract, I think, I forgot who he signed to, but now he's in the MLB. And I'm like, I remember I was having to bark orders at him to drive a T-post in the ground and quit looking at, MLB standings or something like
and
that.
now he's got $1 million contract.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm just a fifth year senior at college radio.
Y'all, we are just in this, and my face already hurts from smiling between your accent and your reactions to him. I'm like dying over here. This is awesome. So how did you end up here at Sul Ross?
So the JUCO I was at was Wharton County Junior College, little JUCO right down the road from my house, and rodeoed there for 2 years, and then it come time to leave there, and I'm like, man, I don't know really where I want to go, because the only other universities in the southern region where I was rodeoing at previously was A&M, Stephen F. Austin, and Sam Houston. And I'm like, I can't afford A&M. Don't want to go to A&M. Don't want to live in College Station. Stephen F. Austin. I'm not going to live in Nacogdoches, Texas. I'm just not doing it. So it was between Sam and here, because the guy who shoots my horses growing up, he came to school here, played baseball here, went through the Farrier program here. So from the time I was in freshman in high school, you need to look at Solar Ross. You need to go Solar Ross. Solar Ross this, Solar Ross that. So I was like, he finally just wore me out, and I gave in, came up here one weekend. His son actually played football here. So he came up on homecoming weekend, and I got contact with CJ, and I talked to them, and had a couple buddies up here, and I'm like, man, this is cowboy country, and, I want to get, really involved in cowboying and along with rodeo. So I'm like, this looks like it's going to be a good fit. And the buddies I knew, they could be in a church service, and they would make the church service really fun, or a funeral service really fun. And so I'm like, man, I need, and I high school rodeoed with them, so I was like, there's a few people I know. It's a good opportunity for me to grow as a person. So I said, this is where I need to end up.
I need friends like that can make a funeral fun. Do you have friends like that?
I think I have a few friends like that.
Oh, man, I'm hanging out with the wrong people. I need to work on this.
Some of them were at that rodeo last year.
And so the three main buddies of mine that could make a funeral fun are Cooper Hurt, Nico Heniosa, and Brandon Lansford.
Okay.
Well, their first year out here was like CJ's first year out here. So there's like 7 people on the team.
Yeah.
Well, they used to come to the basketball games. They'd get a refrigerator box, go to the thrift store, found some old sports coats, found like an old antique like camera that didn't work. Well, they put up on the front ESPN, they had CJ printed off like it was official, an ESPN font, SRSU Athletics or something. And they'd get, some old broken down mics from the thrift store too. They would act like they were commentating the basketball game.
I did not know where this story was going.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I was like, what is happening right now?
CJ has a picture of it somewhere of Brandon and I think Nico are commentating, and there's 2 other people running a camera, and they're just sitting there commentating the game, and it's the funniest thing ever.
That's awesome.
I'm hoping to have Brandon on here also, so I'm going to have to ask him about that story.
He can talk a lot, but at the same time, he doesn't say a word. He's got to really know you, because I can't get him to shut up sometimes.
So did you have the same reaction to Alpine when you got here?
Well, when I got to Alpine, I was like, where is there a grocery store here?
I know.
It's like, I don't know, man. I was just all business with basketball still.
Yeah, but where's the town?
Yeah, I was looking for it still. Driving through this one way. I'm like, is this the only street in town? But it's cool though.
Yeah. But I like that you said cowboy country. So do you cowboy any when you're outside of aside from just rodeo? Do you actually get out and cowboy here?
Yes, ma'am. All this summer I worked for a little ranch, a decent sized ranch in Marfa.
Okay. Went
and did some day working and helped some guys brand calves and chip calves out all summer. And actually in 2 weeks I'll go help a couple guys in Fort Davis for a few days.
You were talking about Major League Baseball. I was listening to a podcast interview with a Major League Baseball player, and he was talking about that he retired from Major League Baseball, and all he wanted to do was day work.
Yeah,
and he'd never been a cowboy his whole life. He met a guy sometime at the end of his baseball career, and they taught him to ride a horse, and now he's like, I signed $1 million contracts, and now I'm working for $150 a day, and I love it. I can't wait to do it again.
That cowboy one, it gets in your veins, and it's all you can think about. Something about riding a cool horse and roping wild kelp, run off Mavericks. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't get to do as much as I would like or as much as some of my buddies, and I'm nowhere near as handy as they are, but no, I'm getting there. You got to start somewhere.
So Colton's kind of talking about how cowboy infiltrates your whole lifestyle and it becomes your way of life, right? So do you feel like basketball has had that kind of influence on you too?
Well, personally, yeah.
Yeah.
When I drove to school holding the basketball the whole time I was driving.
Gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then this is crazy, but I sleep with a basketball.
Yeah. Still?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just cuddle it.
I could tell you were holding back. You're like, do I want to say this or not?
I will.
Shoot, I was saying when I was little, I'd walk around with a rope in my hand. I'd rope anything, walk, stood still. It didn't matter. I had a rope in my hand. Something was getting roped, and until I started dating my girlfriend, shoot, that's all I thought about, and that's still all I really think about. Now,
I don't know. Do you want us to edit that out and not let your girlfriend know that you still think about roping more than her?
No, she knows, because she's the same way with her goat tying. That's when she wakes up, it's goat tying. When we go, that's what she does. And I wake up, calf roping, go to bed, calf roping.
Oh man,
yeah, Yeah.
I think you and I had the same reaction when he was saying that about like until my girlfriend came along. We were like, "What are you thinking about now, Brandon? What are you thinking about now?
Where's this
Colton?"
about to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's calf rope and rodeo cowboy in first, and then she is a very close second. And some days when roping's bad, she's number one.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
That's hilarious.
So you talked about that you walked on to college basketball and you hadn't really ever played basketball, like officially. So did you know all the rules? Was there any like learning curve for that kind of stuff?
I mean, yeah, all of that, like the rules and everything, I knew that, but I didn't, like my first couple of years, I didn't know like the signals and stuff. So these refs would be calling stuff and I'd like get like pissed off, and then I'd like look around to see if everyone else is, and then I'd be like, oh yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
But
That's how I became a yoga instructor, same way. Seriously.
oh, you're pretty good at the yoga instructor, I'll tell you that. But the biggest learning curve was like how fast the game was.
Okay.
Because I mean, I would be playing with these old men. They taught me the game. I learned the game from these old guys at the rec center.
There's always, in every town, I feel like there's a group of old men that have this like underground game, right?
Oh,
They meet
yeah.
once a week and they play this underground game. That's where you learned?
Yeah, but they were nice though. They were nice. And
Yeah, they're nice until they're shoving you and fouling you, and they're like, "We don't call fouls in this game."
No.
oh
Street
yeah,
rules.
they didn't
Street rules.
like the little short white boy like.
Yeah, they don't want you to
Getting
score.
buckets.
Yeah, they don't want the young kid to beat them.
No, but they definitely taught me a lot. But it was like coming out here, or not necessarily out here because I was a little more experienced after then, but my first couple years of no experience at all, it felt like everything was moving so fast. And so that was like one of the mental struggles that I had to overcome, was just like take a breath, calm down, and just focus up a little bit. And it was all good though.
Yeah. So what are some of the things about basketball that like you still struggle with? Or is there anything? Sorry, I guess I should phrase it that way. Is there anything with basketball that you still struggle with? What are your areas that you feel like you still need to like keep working?
Well, I definitely need to work on controlling my emotions. Not that like I'm an aggressive player or an aggressive person, but one thing that I'm really working on is never being too high and never being too low. Because sometimes I'm a very emotional player. I'm like, whenever I'm talking or with my friends outside of everything, I'm very like quiet, kept to myself. But when I get on the basketball court, I feel like that's when I can really show who I really am.
Be all out. Yeah. So again, that was what I was thinking about this podcast, this idea. That's so common. I mean, that's so interesting because we had the same thing in our house about rodeo, like never get too high and never get too low. Like, and generally, especially when he was younger and we were doing multiple events at the same rodeo, then you couldn't let the performance from one event carry over to the next. And I guess that's kind of what you're referring to. Like one end of the court can't influence the other and one play can't.
Yeah, because it's
determine
always
the
about the next play.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if I did something here, congratulations, well, that's over with now. Because we're moving on.
Yeah. You got about half a second.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. And then what about the rules in calf roping? Like, do you get frustrated, like the jerk down rule and the, like, you know, like, is there anything about the rules with calf roping? And maybe explain them a little bit just in case anybody doesn't know.
Like you mentioned, jerk down rule, that's been a controversial issue for the last, here recently.
Yeah.
And I have some issues with it sometimes, because sometimes you go to rodeo and calves are either fresh or they're soggy and sorry and roped out, and you know sometimes the best thing to do is get them off their feet and, you know, give you the best chance, give your horse the best chance. And
So just in case anybody doesn't know what the jerk down rule is, it's if the cowboy, like when they rope the calf and get the rope around the calf's neck, they can't flip them over backwards with their rope.
They can't come over from a 12 o'clock, like if you're looking out on a clock, they can't come over straight 12 o'clock and land on 6 o'clock.
Yeah, like straight.
They can't
head
come.
over butt.
Yeah, you can't jerk them off their feet, and they can't land on their head.
Yeah.
No.
They got to hit. Yeah.
So it's to protect the calves.
It is. You know, PETA, love the PETA, but it's to protect the calves, keep everything in a production state, because it's all production. Everything's televised now. So.
And I think that's one thing I heard, a rodeo announcer talking about that the other day, about how it's entertainment. And I forget that. I forget that sometimes. Do y'all forget that when you're playing? Like, you're playing to win and you're in it for the victory, right? In the competition. Do you ever think about the fact that it's entertainment? Like, we do this for entertainment.
Well, that's part of my emotional side coming out. I love putting on a show.
Okay.
So, like, one of my biggest, my boys gonna get so, they're gonna shake their head after I say this, but one of my favorite college athletes of all time was Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
And so, like, how whenever he would do stuff and he would just be running down the field like a chicken with his head cut off and then waving his arms all around. Like, I love that because I love hyping everybody up. I love getting the energy in the stadium and the arena. I love the electricity.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
I love that.
Okay. So you were injured for most of last year, right?
Yeah, basically the whole year.
Yeah. So I haven't really gotten to see you play. So I'm like really hyped up to go to a game and see what you're like on the court.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you should. I love it.
That was a good selling point for Sul Ross men's basketball.
Absolutely.
You should.
Come see you walk like a chicken down the court. Is that what you said?
Well, I mean, sometimes it'll get crazy, but like in a good way.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay.
Nothing that the Lobos shouldn't be disappointed with.
Yeah, go Lobos. Go Lobos.
Yep. Shout out to our main sponsor, Sul Ross State University.
Yeah. So then, what about I think another frustrating thing about calf roping is the uneven stock. Like there was a big drama about Pendleton the other day, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you explain what happened at Pendleton? I didn't actually see it. I just love social media, right? So you know what happened because of social media. So I just saw the comments.
Yes,
I didn't actually
ma'am.
see what happened.
So from my understanding was Blaine Cox, he'd come back to the short round in Pendleton, and the calf he drew did not match the rest of the herd. Like his calf was I think walking fresh calf or something. Mm-hmm. And so all the other calves, them guys were open. So Pendleton's setup's different. But so you run down, like the calves get a running head start down an alleyway, like a 100-foot alleyway or something, whatever it is. And then they go after it. So the rest of the guys, their calves were catched within 100-foot, 50-foot of that alleyway, and Blaine's calf was at the back of this 5-acre arena. And so it wasn't fair. It didn't give Blaine the same. Blaine didn't have the same chance on his calf that the other 12, 15 guys, however many they bring back the short round, had on their calf. So it's just, rodeo's been like that for a while. It's always been a drawing contest, and sometimes you're on the good end of it, and so other times you're on the bad end of it. And when you're on the bad end of it, it's not fun to rodeo.
And I feel like calf roping, maybe it's just because that's the event I'm the most familiar with,
Yes.
but I feel like it has more of those type of situations than any other event.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think back to the American where the guy's calf got up right at the 6-second mark, and then I can think back to there was a thing with Tyson Durfee where he double grabbed and they gave him the flag anyway, and that got him into the finals.
Yeah, and my thing is,
So-
stay with the stock or the drawing part of it. Calf roping, the calves, they've got to be within the PRCA has certain standards on how much they can weigh. If they are like a longhorn or Coriani type calf, how long the horn can be, or the nub of a horn could be. And so it's hard for a stock contractor or a guy who's being subcontracted from a stock contractor to put together a good, consistent, even set.
Yeah, I don't want that job.
No, I mean, I've helped put on rodeos, and I've been around it for a while, so I know how much of a pain in the butt it is to get. For a youth rodeo, you got to have 30 to 60 set of 120-pound calves for 5-year-old kids to rope tie down on, and then you got to have 30 to 40, 150 to 180-pound calves for the senior, the high school kids. So it's a lot to put on, and it's a lot to keep up with and keep alive. Mm-hmm. Especially during the winter months, and it's super cold in Texas sometimes, and then it'll get super hot the next day, Yeah. So it's a lot. And then the double grabbing deal and the calf kicking up. The judge is calling rodeo. My dad's starting to judge youth rodeos now. And he goes, them youth rodeo parents are just as cutthroat and ruthless as somebody going down the pro rodeo tour. But
as the basketball parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I've been in the bleachers and heard those basketball parents.
Yeah, you go to a high school basketball game or high school football game in Texas. Man, you got parents MFing these refs up and down from
chasing them into the parking lot after the games. Yeah.
Sometimes they need it, but being a rodeo judge, it's right now. Like you got to make a call right now,
and there's no instant replay.
And there's no instant replay. Like sport, that's what's the big that's been a big talk lately with Bobby Melton, the WCRA, at his big rodeos like the one they have in Corpus and Days of 47 in Utah, all those big rodeos. Well, they have an option now where the rodeo contestant can throw a challenge flag, and they have instant replay there. They have a judge that his only job that weekend or that week is to watch the replays and make sure that the call was right or the call was wrong. And so it's starting to get there now where they can look back on it now, but it's still not as defined as in basketball or football.
Well, it's kind of such a toss-up, right? Because rodeo is such a traditional sport, right? It's all about the tradition and the history. But then we have so much technology available to us that it's like, why not use it? We have it available.
Right. And like it's starting to get, a little more technical, which is good. Like the base of the traditional PBR is a whole nother animal. But the PRCA, the roots are still very traditional based, and now we're starting to add technology with the Cowboy Channel, and it's making it a lot better. It's still, the Cowboy Channel's only been around for a few years, so it's still got some growing pains and some growing up to do, but it's making a huge difference, and it's getting better, I think.
Shout out Cowboy Channel, because the Soul Ross Rodeo is actually going to be on the Cowboy Channel, so y'all are going to be on TV.
We're ready.
You bet.
We're prepared.
Loud. Bring all the noisemakers you want. I won't scare them horses. If it scares your horse, bring a better horse to the rodeo. That's all I got to say.
There you go. So do you wish you had instant replay in basketball?
Well, sometimes, but I mean, that's part of the game, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the refs are human, too. They're not going to get everything right.
Exactly.
So it kind of adds a little spice to it.
Yeah.
A little drama. A little flair.
So one of the things that I was really thinking about when I was trying to decide what sport to pair up with which rodeo event, and the reason that I paired up y'all two was thinking about like that moment. I know, especially when my son was younger, watching him when he first dismounts the horse to start running down the rope toward the calf. When you're younger, it's harder to get off, and it's a long drop if you have a big horse, and that calf might zig or zag, and you're going the opposite direction, right? Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing about basketball. You're running toward especially if you're on defense, and you're running toward your opponent who has the ball, and when you miss that, block, right? Like they take off and drive around you to make the layup or the dunk or whatever. Like, what is that moment like? Like, so if you both put yourselves in those positions, right? So you're about to get off your horse, you're seeing the opponent come to you, and you're on defense, and you're ready to go approach. Like, what's going through your mind right there? And do you ever have that fear of, oh crap, I hope they don't get around me, I hope they don't get around me, or what's going on there?
For me, I mean, I've been roping calves so long now, it kind of slows down in certain spots. But when you go draw that calf that runs like a scalded ape, you're just hoping, like when you're open, if they're going straight, you hope they stay going straight. If they're going left, they stay going left, right, same thing. But because if a calf changes directions after you go somewhere with your slack, you're probably gonna have a good chance of jerking them down the wrong way, or not getting the go you want. So you just hope, or you don't hope, you just plan for everything going right.
Or have you ever had one come back at you?
Oh yeah. Joe Beaver's Easter opens when I was growing up in Salado, Texas. Stephen Perry would bring the Bramer cross calves straight off their mama. And it's funny because I remember I was 10, 12. I roped this one Bramer, bald-faced Bramer, gorgeous F1 cross calf. And I mean, I did, if the jerk down rule would have been in effect then, I would have dang sure had it in the youth rodeo, because I put her straight on her head. Before I could even think about getting off the horse, she's already standing up, coming up the rope. And I'm like, this is it. So I don't remember that's all I remember, but I do remember that part. Because the only reason I remember that I had a picture of me stepping off, and she's already turned around, come back at me, and I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
But it makes you better. It makes you, that's what I think. I'm not trying to talk down on the kids of today, but a lot of times I go to the youth rodeos, and they bring in them little Jersey cross pups that weigh 120 pounds and just post up at the end of the rope or just stand there. And so it's like, man, they're kind of missing out on a lot of adversity at a young age, and, learning how to handle your rope. Because now they have the jerk down rule at the junior high rodeos and high school rodeos. So, and you got it. Now the fifth graders can junior high rodeo. So fifth grade's what, 10 years old? You're 10 when you're in fifth grade, something like that.
Something like that.
Sounds good. We'll go with it.
So you got a very small kid roping a 120, 140 pound calf, and they got to hold their slack and take the jerk from the calf so they don't get jerked down. Your shoulder muscles and ligaments ain't ready for that, and I don't know. I mean, they get a lot better chance now to learn how to be quick and handle cattle to be quicker on them than we did, but at the same time, when they go to a rodeo and they have a little waspier calf or one that's a little stouter, stronger than the rest, I just feel like they don't have the same opportunities to make like grown-up runs or like really learn how to handle a rope right.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're handy with their ropes. They can rope necks sharper. Kids nowadays rope necks a whole lot sharper than we did growing up, but I don't know. I just feel like something's missing. It's not the same, I guess you could say. Gotcha.
What are you thinking about when you're approaching you're coming up on defense and you're ready to go after the ball?
Well, it kind of comes down to that's what my job is. And so when someone's coming at me, in my younger days when I was inexperienced, I was nervous guarding somebody because I didn't want to get embarrassed or someone break my ankles or something like that. But, I mean, that's part of the game. And then it's just like every single play isn't going to be the most highlighted play, but every single play can win you a game. And so whenever someone's coming at me, that's just my job. My job is to get a stop. And if someone gets by me, especially on my team, I feel like if he gets by me, one of my teammates is going to have my back right there. So he'll get the stop for me if I can't. And if it happens to him, I'll do it for him too.
Nice. Good answer. Wow. That was some quote-worthy stuff right there. There you go.
Put it on a T-shirt.
So do you ever have those negative thoughts, like, or voices? I don't know. Do you have self-talk going on while you're competing? Like, do you have thoughts going on in your head, and is it ever negative? Do you have to be like, no, we're not going there today. We don't have time for that right now.
Well, last year was a very difficult year for me.
Being injured, I'm sure.
And coming back with my foot and everything, it was one of those things that I really struggled with mentally because I couldn't do certain things that I know I could do. Mm-hmm. And that was I grew a lot last year, especially mentality-wise, and there was a lot of negative thoughts, especially like if I have somebody bigger guarding me, somebody slower than me, and it makes, like, not that I care what anybody thinks of me, but it makes me look like I'm not good. And that definitely creeps into your mind, and it can really cause a lot of bad things to go on, especially when all the lights get shut off and you're sitting there alone in your room watching the film, and you're just like, man, like, I don't know if I'll ever get back to what I was. But then as I became closer with God and I became more spiritually, and my confidence is just through the roof, and I feel like I can do anything in the world. Like, I don't know your sport very well, but I feel like if you showed me how to do it, I could go out there and do it.
Yeah, come on, try out.
Okay, well, in the last episode, we talked about doing an athlete swap, so maybe this is a real thing. Maybe we should try this.
You see it all the time on YouTube, like football player. Well, I remember I was little. Ray Lewis and a PBR bullfighter, they swapped. Well, PBR bullfighter was like, can you juke out Ray Lewis? And if you can't, can you take a hit from him? They did a science research. What's the difference between Ray Lewis hitting you and Bushwhacker hitting you? So it was pretty cool. So I always thought, I was like, man, it'd be cool. Like, when I was in high school, I played football and ran track. I was like, all my buddies on the football team are like, oh, rodeo ain't a real sport. It's not that hard. I'm like, well, come to the house during the summer. Like, it was during 2 days when we were talking about this, because I'd rope calves in the morning before 2 days, go to football, leave football, go home, rope more calves. So I was like, you come flanking tie from the post with me at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, when I grew up south of Houston, right on the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, humidity.
Yeah, you wake up in the morning, it's 85 degrees with 95% humidity with a heat index of 103 at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you come down there and you come flanking tie 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 calves with me, and tell me how fake of a sport rodeo is from then.
Did any of them ever show up?
No.
Oh, no.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But now, I mean, we grew up and we got older now. And maybe respect me now. They'd come to a couple rodeos, and thank God I was on my stuff that day, and I wrote good. And they're like, "All right, you're legit. It's legit. It's a lot of physical, more physical than we thought it would be." So I was like, "Yeah."
Okay, so that brings up an interesting point. You both talked about the fans, like how rowdy y'all get at the basketball games and how rowdy y'all are going to get at the rodeo, and then your friends coming to watch you, and that made you step up. So does who's watching you or what's happening in the stands influence your performance at all?
I try not, like every athlete, you try not to you don't try to worry about outside stuff. Focus on your task and what your job is. But when you back in the box and you're in a perf at a rodeo and there's a couple hundred to 1,000 people watching you screaming, and you like. Especially me in high school, I'd have a couple girlfriends and stuff. Anyway, when you know someone's going to be there and you want to you just want to show out for them. So it makes you purse bring out a little more oomph and trying you than say going to 9 o'clock morning slack like I'm up in Saturday. But it's better because I got third run on the calf. So
in case you're not familiar with what he's talking about when he says perf and slack, so during a rodeo like this weekend for the Sul Ross Rodeo, there's going to be so many people entered in the calf roping that they couldn't all compete at one time. So they'll bring them in during the daytime, and the majority of the people will compete all at one time. And then a few people will compete like a Thursday night rodeo and the Friday night rodeo, the ones that you see. Yeah. And so it's more exciting in the perf because you have the crowd in the stands during the day. During the slack, there's nobody. It'd be like a tournament, right? So you're at a basketball tournament. During the day, it's just the moms and the dads in the bleachers, right? But then at the night, during the the final game, it's the big deal, right?
Yeah, so it's basically, that's how, so a slack feels like, how it is slack feels like a practice session, and then your purse feel like game day.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, purse aren't,
So there's not the same energy. There's not the
No,
same.
it's not. No, I
Your
don't
heart
care.
doesn't race as fast.
No, because I mean it's purse. Usually you have Granny Joe, who's been committee man's wife for 65 years at the rodeo, announces slack, and like next up in the calf roping we have Colton Valenta from Sul Ross. That's how she sounds, and there might be George Jones or Marty Robbins playing on over the speakers, but 9 times out of 10 there's no music at slack, so it's all you hear is shoot gates bang, barriers pull, and the snap through your rope. That's it.
So does that influence, does that make you feel a little slower moving? Does that make your reactions a little dull? Does it make you feel like it's not as important to compete at a high level?
Man, not really. When I'm back in the box, it don't matter if it's Friday night lights are on or Saturday morning slack. It's my job. I need to go out there and make the best run I can. So I try to bring the same energy and the same mindset to each a perf or a slack, but it's a little harder to get motivated when you have slack in the morning versus a nighttime performance. It's just one of those things. But like we said, it's your job, so you got to buckle down and go do it and do it to the best of your ability.
Are you a morning person or an evening person?
I wake up super early every day, so it doesn't really matter. When I draw up,
So if you drop in a morning slack, it doesn't matter. It's not you're used to sleep until the end of the night.
No, heck, my dad. I've got words here since I've got in college about sleeping later, but when we were in high school, I rode the bus from the time I was in kindergarten until I drove, and Dad, he was gone out of the house by 4. Mom had to be at her office by 7, or her classroom by 7, so only place we were getting to school was riding the bus, and the bus picked us up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
So we woke up early from a young age, and weekend summers we had jobs, or Dad had something for us to do, so waking up early, it doesn't bother me. So it doesn't matter if we have an 8 a.m. slack, or I got to run a calf after the perf and a slack at 2 o'clock in the morning, because used to being like that at the youth rodeo, so it don't bother me much.
So what about you? Does it get you, do you feel the energy? Because you talked about that you like to show out a little bit, so if you have a bigger crowd, does it kind of bring out the best in you, or does it challenge you a little bit?
Well, the crowd kind of blurs into one as the game goes on, and except when my mom's there, because when my mom's in the stands, I'm not letting anybody outplay me in front of my mom. Come on now, that's not gonna happen.
That's awesome. Shout out, Mom. I hope you're listening.
Hey, Mom. But yeah, that's true though. When it comes to I don't know, I don't want to make them feel bad or anything, because we live so far out here, but showing up definitely matters, and that definitely makes a big difference.
Have you ever seen that baseball movie with Kevin Costner where he's pitching and it shows? For the love of the game. Yeah, for the love of the game, and it shows where it blurs, when he's pitching before he pitches, the audience just blurs and the sound goes away, and he calls it silence the mechanism.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how many times going to freaking youth radios, my dad be like, "Hey, it's time to pull your Kevin Costner out and just focus on your job." My dad, he should have been a Hall of Fame Texas football coach or some kind of high school coach, but life happened, so he went and got a job and everything. But that was the coolest thing about my family and my parents growing up. They would be the biggest critic I have, and they weren't afraid to jump down my throat and tell me when I was doing wrong, which I needed it. But they, on the same token, they were the first person to tell me, "Hey, you did a good job." So I think having that balance was a big key influence in my life too.
So it made a difference when they told you.
For sure. My dad, he tells me good job more than most dads I think would, but it's still not like every day he texts me, "Hey, good job," or "You're doing good, keep it up." So when he does tell me, it does still mean a lot to me, even at this age now in my life. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, and clearly.
Yeah, my stepdad sending me some videos during the game sometimes of my mom standing up and screaming at the TV whenever she's watching games. That's just hilarious. Adorable.
Aw, good job, Mom.
I just feel like without family, it doesn't matter what sport or even if you don't play sports. If you have a good family, it'll just make life a lot easier, and make you appreciate things more.
And it gives that extra motivation, because my little brother, he's starting his basketball career up right now. He's a freshman in high school, and he needs somebody to look up to, and that gives you your why. Yeah. Why do you do this at the end of the day? And I do it for me, and that does play a huge role, but I do it for other people too, so it changes it.
Yeah. You said something, Colton, I want to go back to. You were talking about that during the Slack. You might have Granny announcing.
Yes, ma'am.
Announcing. So what about when you're up in a perf, and or especially a short go,
Right.
and that announcer is calling your name, and there's the music, and there's the fans. What does that feel like for somebody who's never experienced that?
It's hard to put in words. It's just
Does it give you chills?
Yes. I mean, you get the goosebumps, you get the butterflies, you get, it's electricity. It's a feeling. Playing high school football, you get that, you hear the band playing, and it brings out a certain type of, feelings and energy. But you get into a perf, and you got the announcer hyping you up, hyping your horse up, and the music blaring. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. That's the greatest feeling in the world, is backing in there, and that just in the perf in general, it's just like, yeah, it's go time.
Yeah.
It's electrifying.
So kind of like Caelyb was talking about, though, how do you keep your emotions in check, though, and like not let that cause you to make that mental error because you're so hyped up?
So from the time I was little, my dad, he says, hey, when you get to a rodeo, you need to have a routine. If you have a routine, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. As long as you can stick to your routine, you're going to do your job, and it'll work out, or it should work out. It's rodeo. It's a lot of moving parts, so it's not always going to work out. But that's my thing. Like, I get there, I do my routine, I keep my mindset. I have a step, like certain things. Like when I'm going back in the box, I'm like, all right, I need to score sharp, I need to rope sharp, flank sharp, tie sharp, finish sharp, and that I just keep playing those few things over and over in my head, and I just kind of the Kevin Costner deal, silent smackness, just tune everything out. It's you against the calf, and no matter what the guy in front of you did or what's winning the rodeo right now, it's what are you going to do right now with this opportunity you got in your lap? Are you going to throw it away, or are you going to capitalize in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the saying in our house is score smart, rope sharp, and have fun. Yeah. Right before you go in the box.
Yes, ma'am. I need to do a little bit better job scoring here lately, but there's always that next one.
Well, and then I think that speed up, that causes that speed jam. And I don't know if I'm guessing the same thing in basketball, right? Like when you just make those tiny little mistakes, right? Because you're trying to go so fast. And so kind of in this week, it's been rolling through my mind. I had some things that I was doing, and I caught myself saying, you have to slow down to speed up, right? You have to slow down to go fast. And so I had that on my mind all week, and kind of what you said reminded me of that.
And just, like rodeo, I know, like if I'm in a slacker perf, I'm excited to be at a rodeo. My favorite rodeo is the next one I'm at. And so sometimes you just, you get speed jams because you just want to do, you just wanting to, I guess, chasing the fame, I guess, or chasing the glory of going out there and kicking butt. And so sometimes you cause yourself not to get there because you're just trying to get there too fast. And sometimes you just need to back off, slow down, and go make your run.
Yeah. So let's go back to Caelyb and ask him about getting your name announced. So what does it feel like? Because I know we have a really good announcer here for the basketball games.
We do.
So what's it like when they kind of turn down the lights and they start announcing the game and they're calling you, you're getting ready to walk out, like you're waiting for them to say your name? Like, tell me what that feels like.
Well, it feels a little different for me than I think a lot of the other basketball guys. Okay. Because, a lot of them, they were the best players at their high school. And so they got to experience that throughout their whole entire career. And so whenever that happens to me, it's just like damn,
it's special.
Damn, this feels good.
Is this real life?
Like this is for real. Like all my hard work, like this is for real. And then, like I said, 5 seconds after that, it's over. Now it's game time.
Yeah. So do you get antsy, like waiting in that anticipation before they call your name, like before a game? Like what do you feel like?
Well, if you don't get the butterflies before a game, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because I just love this game so much that I just get, I'm just ready to go. But it's just part of it. It's like just being able to stay in the moment, though, because that's one thing that I really, really will never take for granted is whenever they say my name after a shot before a game. Just being in that moment, it's just savor it. It's amazing.
Yeah, because you never know how many times you're going to get to hear that. I was doing yoga meditation with the women's basketball team the other day, and I was reminding them, this is a privilege, and you don't know how long it's going to last. And, if you really counted backward, you probably don't want to, but if you counted backwards of how few times you have left to do that in your collegiate career, it makes every opportunity becomes a little more special.
Yeah, like this year's my senior year, so I was like, oh, shoot. Picked Rocky up from here. We were driving back to the house, and I'm like, man, this is the last hometown rodeo I'll really ever kind of be because after this, gotta go to the real world, gotta get a job, so I was like, I need to kind of like slow down this week with all, we've been going. We had Portales last week and got back Sunday, and we went back to practicing. As soon as we got back on Sunday, let the horses set for a minute, went home, grabbed a bite to eat, took a little nap, came back, we practiced all night. Monday we practiced. Tuesday we had a bunch of stuff going on with the cattle drive, moving stock out, rodeo stock's getting in. So I'm like, we were just driving to the arena. We got a drink from Sonic, and I'm like slowing down for a second. I'm like, hey, slow down, take this weekend, take a breath, and enjoy it. Because, this is really going to be the last time I get to experience Sullivan State University's rodeo in Alpine, Texas. So I just need to slow down and enjoy all of it. Enjoy the headaches, enjoy the fun parts of the weekend, enjoy waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning and go direct the calf rope and during the slack. Like, just enjoy every little thing that goes on this week and be involved. Like, that's my thing this week this year's, I want to be involved with everything. Like, I'm going to try to make every home basketball game. It's just enjoy the time I have left here before it's no more.
Yeah. So how many seasons do you have left?
This will be my last college season. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How are you feeling about it?
I feel like it's going to be a great year, a very blessed year too.
Okay. So you're both kind of talking about the future. What are your future plans?
So as of right now, I've kind of got 2 type jobs. They're nothing set in stone yet, but I have a pretty cool ranching job opportunity waiting for me in north of Amarillo, a little town called Channing. And I'm actually going to go there in December and back in the spring to help do some work there and see how I like it there, if they like me. So I'm probably going to do that avenue for a while. Go play cowboy and try to train some horses, maybe go amateur rodeo and make the circuit finals.
Sounds fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to pursue my dreams of playing professional basketball after this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is involved in that? That's something I'm not familiar with. So what are the steps? What do you have to do?
Well, that's a very big world right there. Cause
yeah.
That's something that, I'm not trying to really focus on that right now. I'm trying to be where my feet are.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
And, but I have some people really good people that God has put into my life that are focusing on that for me right now.
Okay.
And then when that time comes, I'll be ready for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Well, I've been trying to ask everybody like one key question, and I want to know, what is your greatest memory from your sport? Like, what is the one thing that is your cornerstone, like your key? Like, maybe it's the thing that's kind of kept you tethered to your sport, because it was, I always hear people talk about golf, that it's that one stroke every golf game that keeps you coming back, right? Like, you could play a crappy golf game, but you have that one stroke in a game that you're like, okay, I want to go back for that. So what's the one thing that you would hold on to if you had to tell someone about your favorite memory? It doesn't even have to necessarily be a win, but like, what's your favorite thing about your sport, your favorite memory about it?
Well, I have 2.
Okay.
And the first one kind of goes back to that school in Arkansas. And whenever things went down and I left and I went to that school in Oklahoma, we came back and played them. And like in the first, I went crazy in the first half. And that was just like a big moment for me, because I proved everybody wrong and I proved myself right.
Heck yeah.
And then last year, but I think my all-time favorite moment so far is last year we played Hardin Simmons, and that's when I was really struggling with my foot and everything, and I was like, damn, I don't know if I'm going to be who I am. And then coach drew up a play, and he gave me the ball whenever it was a tie game and clock was winding down, and I hit the shot, got a bucket, and we won that game. And that just like that was a huge moment for me, because I just solidified all the hard work that I've been doing, and it just kept my dream going.
Dude, I kind of just got chills for you, like thinking about like just picturing X over there drawing up the play for you, and like, yeah.
It's like every sports movie, it's got the Michael or the rock music playing, and it's fading out, and credits are starting to roll, and it's just a game-winning shot going in, and he went on playing the NBA. Coach went on to be Hall of Fame. Every stereotypical sports movie ending kind of did.
Well, it just had to end with a victory, right? Like you had to win with make the
cool
shot.
Story.
What made that so amazing was just my teammates were all just right there, just standing there with me, just going crazy, and I just loved it.
So far in these interviews, that's been one of the biggest differences that I have noticed about interviewing the athletes, is that every one of the traditional sports athletes has talked about the team and the camaraderie and the people, whereas in rodeo, you're more independent, and even though in college you're on a team, it's not still, that's not what drives you to compete, right? It's a very different feeling. So it's interesting that you said that again, though, because I think that is cool, and I think that's why so many people. But I actually heard research this week that people who play team sports are less likely to have like depression and anxiety because of that, right? Like, whereas the people who play solo sports, even like tennis and golf and stuff, are more likely.
Well, I mean, when our season starts, like we're traveling all over, and we're like on this bus with each other in these hotel rooms, like sleeping right next to each other.
You have no choice but to go along.
So you're gonna bond regardless, even if you don't want to.
Yeah. All right, tell us about your favorite memory, Colton.
Oh man, it's been a while since I've thought about them, but there's been so many. But I guess the most, like, I guess you could say, career defining one, or my favorite memory, is my senior year. It was high school finals, and I ended up winning second in the first round, and I was like, man, my first 2 years here, I couldn't make it in the calf roping, just being a young, naive kid. And then junior year, going out there and not catching a single calf. Then I come back first calf my senior year, and I win second in the round. I'm like, look, you belong here. You can hang with the big dogs. If you just remember to make your runs every time, your name will be up there. It may not be first, but you're going to be nickel and diamond, and you're going to be taking somebody's dollar by the end of the time. So that kind of like solidified me, because like Joe said, my sophomore year, if you want a rodeo, you come rodeo to Texas. Texas high school finals 9 times out of 10 are harder than nationals. And I mean, I know Cinch because he's made it to nationals, and it's just Texas is where it's at. Everything's bigger and better in Texas.
I think it's interesting that both of y'all's kind of moments that you came down to were about like solidifying your place in your sport, and that self-efficacy of I belong here, and I am capable of doing this, and I am capable of succeeding and achieving. So again, kind of cool. Totally different sports and totally different environments, right? But you're still the same things are like what keep you going and what define you.
Definitely think like those memorable moments in your rodeo career, basketball career. Like here lately, it's been a really, really rough patch for me, and just going back and thinking about all those times where you made it to the top, quote unquote, kind of thing to speak, and you're like, you've did it once before, just go do it again. Figure out a way to get back there and do it again. It's that simple. It's that my biggest thing is staying out of my head. It's I've struggled with that since the first time I picked up a rope till now, and it was easier to get out of it in high school because I had Dad there coaching and hollering at me, and but you're growing up, so you got to figure it out yourself. So we've got a game plan this week. We've practiced good, so I'm excited for Saturday morning.
There you go.
Come back Saturday night.
Perfect. Well, good luck this weekend at the rodeo. We're excited for you, and we'll be there cheering you on.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right. Any parting words? Any words of wisdom and advice for our listeners? Any questions for each other?
Well,
you want to get in the bull barrel this weekend? We can put you in the barrel during the bull riding.
I don't think my coach would like that at all.
He can get in there too. We got a couple sections of bull riding. We got a couple nights of bull riding. We'll put someone in there each night.
We can put a couple freshmen in there.
Hey, there you go.
Have you seen where they do the bubble? We have the bubble soccer, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they do bubble soccer bullfighting.
Oh, my God.
They'll get contestants out of the audience.
Yeah, it's fun to watch those things. Those are my favorite thing to watch.
You got to fight a bull with a bubble on?
Well, you sort of just dodge the bull.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it gets wild. Like, I seen something the other day on TikTok. It was like from a bunch of amateur rodeos over the summer that had that act, and I mean, it got rain.
Well, I saw them do it at Stanford one year, and they forgot to tip the bull's horns.
Yeah, that was on that video.
And they popped the bull. They popped the bubble, and I was like, okay, wait, that was not how that was supposed to go.
Failure.
Oh my gosh.
Fail.
That's crazy.
But,
fail.
Yeah.
All right, what's in store for the rest of the day?
We got a production meeting here at 4:00, and then our first purse starts tonight at 7, and gets the ball rolling for the weekend. Rocky's first out in the goat tying tonight.
Ooh.
But there are our goats. They've been tying since July, so she knows the goats. She's on a good horse, and so she's gonna go out, start with bang, go be 6'4", 6'5", and go win the long round again. Then our boyfriend's gonna follow it up on Saturday, go win the long round, the team rope and calf rope, and 2 of us gonna win the short round Saturday night.
Yeah, I hope it's just 2 of you.
Yeah, well, I hope it's the whole team, everybody that's entered for us this weekend makes it back. But
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be working the concession stand, so
come get your hot
if y'all want some food, y'all want to tip me,
college be rough.
Whatever.
Help a basketball player out.
For real.
You.
Yeah.
Definitely.
right. Well, thank you so much, guys. I really
Yes, ma'am. Thanks
appreciate
for
your
having
time
me.
today. It
Yeah,
was
thank
exciting.
you for having me.
Yeah, I had a blast on y'all. I'm not kidding. My face hurt the first half of that podcast. I was laughing
This
so
was a
hard.
blast.